Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Friday, March 28th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today. This is episode 514 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Of course, appreciate all of those tuning in on all the different audio podcast platforms. And today, we've got some New York Jets breaking news to discuss as the New York Jets signed veteran wide receiver Josh Reynolds yesterday afternoon, and today I want to break down my thoughts on this signing. As always, though, before we begin, we've got to get into our podcast partners, starting with our friends over at BetUS, America's favorite online sports book. If you're looking to get in on any of the sports betting action for the remainder of the Sweet 16 and March Madness games, or the MLB season. Opening day was yesterday. 161 games remaining for the majority of teams, as well as the Rays and Rockies actually open up today for the first time. So if you want to get in on any of the sports betting action for the MLB season, check out BetUS. Use my link in the description of this video to get a 125% sign-up bonus on your first three deposits up to $2,000. Also, our friends over at SeatGeek. If you're looking for any of the best in sports or entertainment, check out SeatGeek and use my code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase and get yourself out to some awesome sporting events. And, of course, plays, concerts, shows, you name it. SeatGeek has it. Bubs on Sports, $20 off. And, of course, our friends over at Huga House. If you want any of their awesome selection of hats, along with new arrival sweatshirts or any of their other new arrival hats, check them out and use code BUBS for 15% off any purchase. You'll get 30% off your second hat when you use that code off your first purchase. So check them out and get yourself some Huga House swag. So here we go, episode 514. Today is a Friday, closing out the week here. And the New York Jets yesterday made a signing, wide receiver, adding some more depth at the position in Josh Reynolds. It is a one-year deal worth up to $5 million. It includes $2.75 million in guarantees. And before we really break down Reynolds as a player and what he brings to the table, this is kind of a move that I personally like, and we'll, of course, break it down, but a little bit of a different move from what we've seen the Jets do so far. And that is the Jets so far this offseason have looked for a lot more young talent, guys that are kind of just entering their prime in their mid-20s, hoping that they can tap into some untapped potential, as opposed to more of these veterans, which we've seen the Jets take that approach the last couple years. And Josh Reynolds fits that billing of a veteran who has been around for a long time, not necessarily the other free agents that we've seen the Jets sign, which, of course, is a lot of players in their mid-20s, bringing them in and hoping you can get something out of them while they're still young. Reynolds enters his 9th season here with the Jets at 30 years old. 6'3", 192 pounds, was a former 2017 fourth-round pick, 117th overall by the Rams. Spent 4 seasons with the Rams, then spent 2022, or part of 2021 rather, with the Titans, then spent the other part of it with the Lions. So spent a half a season with Tennessee, then went to Detroit, where he spent the rest of 2021 and in all of 2022 and 2023 with the Lions, And then last year was a kind of a complex season for Reynolds, a complicated season where he started in Detroit. Some things happened, or started in Denver, rather. Some things happened and then got claimed by Jacksonville. And obviously the Denver connection, the Detroit connection should ring a lot of bells for Jets fans. The Jets will be his sixth team, but Reynolds is a guy who has a connection with Muji and some of this coaching staff, right? He spent 2.5 years with the Lions, including 2 of those seasons in 2022 and 2023 were some of his best seasons that he's had since entering the league in 2017. So was a part of that team that featured, of course, Tanner Engstrand on the offensive staff, played under that system, understands the Engstrand system kind of coming from the Ben Johnson tree, of course, coming from Detroit, was under him as a player. And then also Glenn was there at the same time. And in last year, in the 5 games that he played with Denver, signing a 1-year contract, was there with Darren Muji. So has a connection with Engstrand, has a connection with Glenn, has a connection with Darren Muji, and you add a nice veteran piece to a wide receiver room that we've talked about a lot, desperately needs a lot of help. And when you look at Reynolds, he's put together a nice NFL career up to this point. And I think looking at Josh Reynolds as a player, you look at his Detroit days, and those are numbers and those are production that you can get a little excited about, I think, if you're a Jets fan. Now, is Josh Reynolds going to take this team and they're going to win 13 games just because they signed him? No, it's a 1-year contract. It's a flyer. You're bringing him in to be a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 behind Garrett Wilson, and assuming you draft somebody else. But he's a nice, steady veteran to a room right now that needs it. You know, Tyler Johnson isn't going to move the needle enough. Malachi Corley-Hughes, question marks. And we'll break down Lazard a little bit more later on in the episode, but he's more than likely gone. And Reynolds actually, in many areas, is an upgrade over Lazard, which I don't think should be too surprising. Now, you look at Reynolds last season. We'll start there, then we go to some of his days in Detroit. Last year was rough, right? He started the season productive. First couple weeks, really good. 5 catches for 45 yards, 4 catches for 93 yards, 2 for 36. Looked good. Was playing well. Was doing what he was supposed to do with Bo Nix and that rookie quarterback in that offense in Denver. And then suffered a finger injury. Needed to get surgery. And it was placed on IR. And an off-the-field incident happened where he was actually shot off the field. Thankfully, he's okay. Denver ends up moving on. He ends up recovering, signing with Jacksonville for the remainder of last season. Only played 4 games there, didn't do a whole lot. So he finished 2024 with just 13 catches, 24 targets, 194 yards, 14.9 yards per reception, and a touchdown in 9 games played, split between Denver and Jacksonville. But I think really looking at Josh Reynolds as a receiver, you got to look back at his Detroit days. And that, of course, is going to be a big focal point and something to look forward to, because it was in Detroit, Engstrand coming over there, and a lot of what you saw from him in Detroit is similar to the role that you hope he can play and hope he can play up to here with the Jets. I want to take a look specifically at 2022 and 2023, his 2 full seasons there after coming over halfway through 2021. 31 games played across those 2 seasons. Had 78 catches on 123 targets, 1,087 yards, 13.9 yards per reception, and 8 touchdowns. On top of that, 2023 was one of his best seasons he's had in his entire career. 40 receptions, 64 targets, 608 yards, 5 touchdowns, which was a career high, and he played in all 17 games. Also had 15.2 yards per completion. And you look at the way he was used in Detroit during those 2 seasons, you should expect a very similar role here with the Jets. In 2022, he was 3rd among wide receivers in targets on the Lions and 4th on the team. More specifically, 2023, I think you can look at these numbers as well and really expect these to be even closer. 2nd among wide receivers in targets on the Lions and 4th on the team as a whole. He was behind Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then Josh Reynolds there at number 4. That, I think, is what you should expect in this Jets offense. Reynolds as a Z receiver, as a number 2, number 3 alongside Garrett. I think you expect this offense to look something like Garrett leads the team in targets, and then your tight end, and then you're probably Breece Hall, and then whoever your tight end 1 is, and then Josh Reynolds. And you know Reynolds can fit into that role, fit into that piece of the puzzle, because that's what he was able to do in Detroit. And Engstrand coming over from Detroit, expect this offense to, of course, use this 1-2 punch, be a run-first team, but also utilize the tight ends, right? Get Breece Hall more involved in the passing game. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, your number 1 wideout. And then Reynolds there as a nice quality depth piece. The Jets needed this. They needed a signing like this. You needed another stable veteran. You couldn't go into the draft or even just the season in general. And obviously a lot more moves, a lot more things still need to happen. But it's nice to have a stable veteran, a guy who's been in the league for a while, right? Entering his 9th season, has bounced around, has been with a variety of different teams, 30 years old, as opposed to relying on Malachi Corley or even Tyler Johnson to hopefully take a step. You get more of a proven guy in here who had success with an offense where the offensive coordinator is coming from. And he understands the scheme and also kind of his role, and he filled that role perfectly. And I think that's something positive to look at. I'll throw some other things out here as well with Josh Reynolds. And I want to really compare, him to Lazard here a little bit as well. And why I think a Allen Lazard cut could be coming next. Because for a while now, the Jets have kept Lazard on the roster. And I think a lot of us have been a little confused why that's been the case, right? They gave him permission to seek a trade. We've all been waiting. It's the inevitable is going to happen eventually. But I think the Reynolds signing officially shows you, Lazard's going to be out. It's only a matter of time. Just to give you some contested catch numbers. Something else I like about Reynolds. He also had a 113.3 passer rating when targeted, by the way, in 2023. But since 2022, he's caught 17 of 30 contested targets, which is a 56.7% contested target catch rate. Lazard, on the other hand, has had just 21 of 54, which is 38.9% since 2022. I'll also throw some of these numbers up here on the screen. Reynolds over the last 2 years, 26 games played. 53 receptions on 88 targets, 802 yards, 6 touchdowns, a pick when targeted, 3 drops, 4 penalties. A 60.2% catch rate, 9.1 yards per target, 109.2 passer rating when targeted, a 5.3% drop rate, and a 285.8 snaps per penalty. You throw Allen Lazard's numbers on the screen. 60 receptions on 109 targets, 841 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions when targeted, 13 drops, 11 penalties, a 55% catch rate, a 7.7 yards per target, 90 passer rating when targeted, 17.8% drop rate, and 121.4 snaps per penalty. Reynolds' catch rate, yards per target, passer rating when targeted, drop rate, and snaps per penalty all are upgrades over what Lazard has done in his last 26 games played, more specifically, his last 2 years with the Jets, which has, of course, been an unmitigated disaster. Reynolds also comes a lot cheaper, and you look at Lazard's contract, you can get out of that and save $6.63 million on the cap, moving on from Lazard. So overall, I think this is a solid move, right? Reynolds kind of feels a little similar to like if the Jets would have signed, let's say, a Tim Patrick, right? A guy that's, knows Detroit, connection with the coaching staff, understands the scheme, fits what the Jets are looking for in that, wide receiver 2-3 range. I'll also throw this clip up here on the screen of Josh Reynolds with a nice run block, something that was a strength of his throughout his career. And look, that's not, again, something to write home about for a wide receiver. Oh, he can run block. He's elite. But it is little things like that that could benefit this Jets offense. They're going to be a run-first offense. Lazard's not much of a willing run blocker. Josh Reynolds, throughout his career, especially during his time in Detroit, where Laporta, their tight ends, their receivers all run block really well, he was productive in that area. Jets are going to need more of that this year. So I like this signing here. I think it's good to get a steady veteran in this room, connections to the coaching staff, understands the scheme, solid depth piece. Still need help at that position, right? Still got to draft somebody, bring in some more talent, but it's certainly an upgrade over what the Jets have had and what the Jets have done so far here in free agency at the position, which is very little up until this point. So those are my thoughts on Josh Reynolds, and also some extra thoughts as well on Allen Lazard and kind of the difference between the two and how it is an upgrade. And I think this shows too, Lazard's gone. I don't think anybody should really be wondering at this point, Lazard coming back or not. It's going to happen. I think it's only a matter of time. Reynolds is an upgrade and a nice quality veteran depth piece. So let me know what you think in the comments section, down below on this move. Like it. Don't like it. I don't see why anybody wouldn't like it. They need receiver help. They need bodies. They get one here. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below on this move. Any other moves you would like to see the Jets make? What are your thoughts on the Jets heading into the draft? Any other Jets thoughts? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. We'll be back with a lot more content coming your way. We'll, of course, have more Mock Draft Monday coming up. Of course, Glenn will speak on Monday as well at the annual league meeting, so we'll have some content on that. So a lot more just under a month out from the NFL draft. So starting to ramp up. As always, until next time, JETS, 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 Jets.